Welcome back to the TKO show. So, today I'm going to be talking about the AP poll top 25 for college football. These came out yesterday. This is my first time seeing them, so let's get right into it. So, 1 and 2 stay the same in Georgia and Michigan. Georgia 1, Michigan 2. I don't see any problem with Georgia being number 1. They have had dominant wins both weeks. Last week was against Ball State when they won 45-3. Not as dominant as you want to see, but still, they're still winning by 42 points. Nothing wrong with that. Then Michigan won against UNLV 35-7. Not particularly what you like to see. You would prefer to see Michigan win that by 50-7 or at least 40-7, but it doesn't matter. They're still there, but they're still playing dominantly. Now, 3 and 4 have changed. Florida State went up 1. They're now 3 after a dominant victory over Southern Miss and a 66-13 win. They moved up from 4 last week. Now, 4, this is where things start to get interesting. Texas is at 4, moving up 7 spots after beating Alabama 34-24. Now, I understand why they moved up 7 spots and into the top 4. That makes sense. Alabama was number 3 last week. They beat Alabama by 10 points. I understand it. But 4? I think they should be above Florida State for that. They should be in the top 3 for beating Alabama. Granted, Alabama hasn't been as dominant in the past 2 years as they have in the past 10, which I'm not saying that Alabama has not been great. It's just they're not going undefeated anymore, and it kind of shows that Alabama's not going to win the title every single year now. So, moving on from 4, you have USC, who moved up from 6 after a win against Stanford 56-10. That's what you like to see. Now, moving on to 6, Ohio State moved down 1 spot after a win against Youngstown State 35-7. How are you... Okay, what I'm confused about is how Michigan can stay the same, beating UNLV 35-7, but when Ohio State beats Youngstown State 35-7, they move down a spot. What is going on? Why? Why? That is absolutely ridiculous. I don't care what USC did. Texas makes sense why they jumped over Ohio State. That is completely understandable. I'm okay with that. Why is USC jumping Ohio State? That is absolutely ridiculous. But moving on to number 7 and 8. They're Penn State and Washington. Penn State beat Delaware 63-7, and Washington beat Tulsa 43-10. They both stay at 7 and 8. Okay, moving on to number 9. Notre Dame moved up a spot after beating NC State 45-24. I understand why they moved up a spot. NC State is a big ACC school, but still, they're not high in the ACC. So you still want Notre Dame to beat NC State more or by more, but totally understandable why they moved up 1 spot. Now, Alabama. They moved down 7 spots. They were 3 after losing to Texas 34-24. I'm not mad that they moved down that much. Alabama should... So, now moving to number 10. Alabama is at 10 now after moving down 7 spots after losing Texas 34-24. I already talked about that when I talked about Texas, so I'm not going to explain much or explain that at all. Now, at 11, Tennessee. Wait, fuck. So now at 10, moving down 7 spots is Alabama after losing to Texas 34-24. Now, I already talked about this when I talked about Texas, but I'm fine with Alabama moving down from 3 to 10. I'm okay with that. Alabama, they did lose to a big-name school who was highly ranked, so I'm fine with that. Yeah, 10 is the perfect spot for them. Now, moving on to 11, that is Tennessee. They moved down 2 spots after beating Austin Peay, or however you pronounce that, I don't know, after beating them 30-13. How are you moving down 2 spots after that? I understand it's not winning by a lot, but still, you at least move them up a spot and move Alabama down to 11. Alabama lost. Just, I don't know. Now, I'm going to run through 12 through 16 because they didn't change. 12 is Utah. I'm actually going to talk about this one a little bit because they only beat Baylor 20-13. Now, I only caught like the last 2 or 3 minutes of game time, but it was fun. I think it was an interception nearing the end of the game that gave Utah the ball back, but that might also be the Oregon game that I might be thinking of. I don't remember. But Utah got the ball back after Baylor screwed up, and they ended up giving the ball back to Baylor after a great defensive stop by Baylor. And they moved down the field very well, especially with a long bomb down the field to get them to, I believe, the 10-yard line, and they got out of bounds with 2 seconds left. Then, to end the game as time was expiring, their quarterback threw the ball into the end zone, and their receiver got interfered with. The defender interfered the shit out of him, and it was a no call. That is absolute bullshit. It's bullshit. There should have been a call there. They should have given them the extra play at the 1-yard line because it's a 15-yard penalty in college, and that would have moved them up to half the distance to the goal line. So give them the extra play and see if Utah can stop them. That's all I wanted to see. I just wanted to see Baylor upset Utah. That's all I wanted to see. But, I mean, I don't know how Utah didn't move down, only winning 20-13. So, I don't know at this point. Now, moving on to Oregon. Oregon won against Texas Tech 38-30. Now, I know for a fact I did watch the end of this one, like the last 2-3 minutes. And I watched Texas Tech's quarterback throw an interception on a crucial play. And I can't even talk about that. Honestly, I can't even talk about that. I'm too mad. I'm too mad that Texas Tech did not win that. I'm also a little mad that Oregon didn't move down because they did only win by 8. But, Now, I'm just going to do a quick run through 14 through 16, which is LSU at 14 beating Grambling State 72-10. Kansas State is 15 beating Troy 42-13. Oregon State stays at 16. Beating UC Davis 55-7. Not mad at any of those. Now, here's where things start to get interesting. Ole Miss moved up 3 spots from 20 after beating Tulane 37-20. Now, I understand Tulane was ranked. I believe they were ranked 20th. I believe. No, 24th. It was 24th, that's what I was thinking of. Ole Miss was 20. So I understand why they moved up after beating the 24th team in the nation by 17 points. It was a pretty good game. Didn't get to watch all of it. I was mainly watching the Iowa State game, but I did tune into this every once in a while. And it was so a good game, I understand why they moved up. Now, Colorado moved up 4 spots to 18. after beating Nebraska 36-14. How are you moving up a team who beat an unranked team who's absolutely terrible on offense and decent on defense? Granted, they did beat them 36-14. So a little understandable that you move up a spot or two, but 4 spots, really? Oh, this is why I hate AP polls and the people who do them. Now, moving on to 19. Oklahoma dropped a spot after beating SMU 28-11. How are they moving down a spot? They should at least stay at 18 and Colorado be 19. That's what it should be. Simple as that. Now, this one makes a little bit of sense, but not as much. North Carolina is at 20 after beating Appalachian State 40-34. They moved down 3 spots for that. I understand why they moved down because they only beat Appalachian State by 6 points. Granted, Appalachian State did have a couple upsets last year, especially against a big school. I don't remember who they upset, but you should not be moving down 3 spots for that. That's absolutely ridiculous. Now, 21 is Duke after beating Lafayette 42-7. They didn't move at all. Miami, they moved into the top 25. They're now at 22 after beating Texas A&M